Welcome to the Drachnik and Friends official podcast, where we peel back the curtain on puzzle games and the people who make them. I'm Syrenne, the producer at Drachnik and Friends, and I'm joined as always by Alan Hazelden, the head Drachnik at Drachnik and Friends.
Hey there.
Today, we're joined by Izzy Kestrel, who you may know from her work on the Electrifying Incident, among other small projects like a little game called Mario. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, no real major complaints outside of the existing in the United States complaints.
The major complaints, yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to give yourself a slightly better introduction? You've worked on a hell of a lot, so I can't really sum it all up in one sentence.
Yeah, I mean, I made Mario. That's kind of the key thing, right? That most people probably know me for. Yeah, so I've been active for about a decade, doing some like independent stuff for a couple of years, mostly like pixel art, kind of like I didn't do the pixel art. I had a friend do that, but very mechanical, very like arcadey sort of games. And then I kind of got into my weird era and never really left. So I've got some weird stuff about famed 90s video game Lizard Gex, some fan games there, guest appearances other places, games about Universal Studios theme parks adventure, the GameCube game. I made a game about a GameCube game. And I've worked at companies like Phenomena, No Goblin, and Astrological. And with you guys. I've worked with you guys too.
Yeah. You worked with us on Electrifying Incident. What did you do on Electrifying Incident?
So I was brought on as the Godot expert, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was literally my title. I think it was like Godot programmer or something like that. But you wanted an expert, and you got me.
We don't really have job titles at Drachnik.
I mean, did you listen to the intro where I say head Drachnik at Drachnik and Friends?
Okay,
yeah.
That's the only title we have.
Syrenne's not like the secondary Drachnik.
No,
I think that would be weird.
Back before Mari joined, and the only people that worked every week at Drachnik and Friends were Alan and I would tell people that I'm the and friend.
Yeah. Now I'm a friend too, right?
Yep.
Is that how that works?
So many friends.
Yeah, you are a friend of Drachnik. You worked on Electrifying Incident.
Yeah, cool.
Taking a step back, actually taking a bunch of steps back, what got you into game development in the first place?
That is a lot of steps back. So when I was a child, I played video games. I guess that's kind of
wow.
Bold.
A really unique story there. Yeah, breaking child play video games. My family was very supportive of it. My mom always would rent games for me, and like we'd stay up playing Mario until like 3 a.m. and then she'd be like, "Oh crap, you got to go to school." So she'd kind of get just as invested as I would. And yeah, I think for a long time I kind of saw games as something that I deeply enjoyed as like a player, but it would never be something that I could like make myself. That didn't seem like accessible to me, even though I was kind of like a technical kid and I would like do a lot of computery stuff and kind of understand computers, and all the right ingredients were there for me to become a game developer, except for like I was terrible in school in all respects, but especially in math. And for a long time, my understanding of like programming and like dealing with computers on that deep of a level was like, oh, that's all math, and I'm not able to do that. I'm incapable of like learning how to program or doing anything real. But and then I would say that, and then I would like download RPG Maker, and I'd spend like hours trying to make something in that, and then I always play around with game making tools growing up, but I didn't really take it seriously until I was like in college, I think, like late in my college career. And I met someone who unfortunately was laid off in a nearby game studio in Iowa City, which is strange because there wasn't a lot of those. But Activision acquired, it was Budcat Productions, I never know the subtitle, Budcat. And then friend Clover Greenhouse, I worked with for a number of years, Virtually Competent Games, who did all the art for those games. She came to work at a video game store with me. And I'm like, oh, I know a real live game developer now. maybe it is possible to be like a normal person that makes video games.
Yeah, awesome. I think outside of being in your weird era, like, what would you say drives you with like what games to work on other than like let's politely say excluding the 3 full-time jobs that you had as let's say money and healthcare for those. But for
Yeah.
like the projects that you make on your own, what drives you to feel like it's time to start work on another one? What drives you in the creative direction of pushing towards one?
Yeah. I just like to make stuff and I want to make stuff and I want to put stuff out there. I think I spent so much of my life consuming media, like kind of like playing a lot of stuff, watching movies, watching TV, like engaging with like creative works. And that stuff shaped me in such a profound way, like all of the things that I've like engaged with. And I think that's really cool and interesting. And I want to like I think it would be cool if I did that for someone else, right? Like I don't know if like someone's going to play Gexfeld, for example, and be like, "Wow, this is my personality now." I hope that's not the case, but I think that I spend a lot of time making things that I'm always trying to make something that pushes a new skill set for me, or I can like learn something new. I can like hone my craft more and be quicker at a process, or just like I want to be able to do it sustainably and be able to like, I have a kid and that takes up a lot of time. I just want to be able to keep making things, and I have a lot of like big things that I'd like to make, and a lot of things that are more, narrative focused, have more like themes and more like, I guess they're meatier productions than just kind of the weird smaller games that I make. And I think the critical thing to like be able to make those big, really interesting projects is to have a lot of smaller ones to build me up to be able to have that confidence to make something bigger.
And yeah, can you talk about some of your projects? Like at the start, we name dropped a little game called Mario, which
Yeah.
I think is possibly the best known thing you've worked on. But like, if somebody doesn't know what that is, it's probably polite to them to give them some context on.
Yeah, I suppose. A little game called Mario. That if you put that in quotes, that is the title. The joke was based on a tweet, as a lot of my works are, just throwaway jokes that kind of snowball into something bigger. I just take the joke too far. Um, and the idea was that there's this common thing in games, or probably any medium, right? But like games especially, it's really awkward where you say like, "Oh, I make video games," and then the average person is like, "Oh," and maybe this is a polite thing to say. They're like, "Oh, what have you worked on?" Like they're gonna have any idea what what these games are that you've worked on. It's not You're not going to say Minecraft. You're not going to say Call of Duty. You might, but unlikely you're going to say anything that they've actually heard of. So it's kind of like, why I asked the question. But someone tweeted like, "Oh, you should normalize just saying like, oh, I worked on a little game called Mario. Maybe you've heard of it." And that's funny because of course they're going to know what Mario is, but you definitely did not work on Mario. So the joke was that I made a really simple platformer in Godot, and when I say simple, I mean simple. It's just like a black background with the little Godot head that comes stock in your project to like use that as the character, and it could run and jump around, and that was about it. And I released this as an open source project on GitHub, and I put this framing around it that said like, this is called a little game called Mario. It is open to contributors. If anyone wants to contribute to it, if you want to edit it, you want to add stuff to it, you want to make a new level, you want to make new art for it, you want to add music, whatever you want to do, you are welcome to come do that. And I tried to make that as accessible as possible, which is no small feat because Git is very confusing, even for someone who makes video games, has made video games for a long time. And the idea is that if you come and work on this game, you are able to say that you worked on a little game called Mario, which is funny. There was a credits auto-generating credits thing that would like populate into the game. Any change to the game would actually be automatically published. So it was like as much as we could take down the roadblock, the speed bumps, to make it so like you could get something in the game and get seen by other people as easily and quickly as possible. That was what we tried to do. But also more importantly, like kind of getting past the stupid joke, you can also say like, hey, I'm a game developer. I make video games, because anyone can make a video game. Anyone can like do this stuff. You don't have to like go to college. You don't have to like, have any specific kind of credentials to do these things. You can just do it. And if you like make a little piece of music, or you like, if you draw a little crayon drawing and then you go and you add it to the background of some little Mario level, that still counts. Like you still contribute to a game, you put the work in, and you added your thing to this hodgepodge project. And that's really cool. So it was a cool thing that went slightly viral for like a couple months, and it still exists today. And it is a little bit different every time I open it, which is really fun.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and it's like this creative co-op almost.
Yeah.
So, unlike a lot of people that we have on this podcast, your work is not preeminently like Thinky Games.
Yeah.
We both worked at Astrological. I hired you
Yes.
there, and
Yes.
then we were laid off, and then I, continued working at Dracneck and hired you there again because I
Yep.
had a good time working with you the first time.
Because
But
collusion.
yeah, that nepotism, baby.
There's no ethics in video games. Yeah.
But I think like outside of because Syrenne keeps pulling you in, like how do you view Thinky Games as like a player / sometimes game dev, and then also how would you describe your relationship to them?
Yeah. So I think of myself as a fan of the genre. So to speak. Is that the word? Is it a genre?
I like to refer to it as a mode of play, but
Mode
yes,
of play. Okay.
That's fancy.
Yeah.
it's like because the gameplay is happening in your head. The gameplay is not dexterity based.
All right, you're saying Thinky Games is bigger than genre.
No, I mean not in a pretentious way. Like literally, when you look at like when you're looking at like a Sudoku, the writing it in is not actually the gameplay. The gameplay is what's happening in your head. The similar with almost every game that we consider to be a Thinky game. Like the actual processing is happening in your head. So I call it a mode of play, but that's just me.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think that I've been a fan for a long time of this type of game, this mode of play. I remember like as far back as NES. I think about like the Adventures of Lolo or something like that, like a classic, just like old like Sokoban sort of style game. Those things are always those have been in my mind for a long time, and I think especially mentioning earlier, like my mom would play games with me. I feel like actually a couple years ago, maybe on like Nintendo Switch Online or whatever, they have one of those games on there, and I sat with my mom and we just played through a couple levels of that, because it I appreciate that these games have the mode of play that you're describing, where you can, as a group, you can kind of like analyze the situation, and all the information is on the screen. You can work together on a solution, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, if I'm not holding the controller, I'm not playing, right? I like that collaborative effort. Actually, it was like 2 weeks ago or something, and this is the second time I've done this. Actually, I did this at a different job too. I work in IT currently at my local university, and we had a like a brown bag lunch, like gaming session sort of thing, where the idea was that I was going to bring in a video game for people to play, and I brought Baba Is You, and I put that up on a projector in a classroom, and then we had probably like 10, 15 people from my department come by and like eat lunch and play. And that game, I love playing that game in that kind of setting, because it's just like, okay, one person play, which is you've never touched it before. It's simple. You can move the character around, push things around. It's not complicated to move. But then everyone in the room is kind of like shouting basically nonsense to the uninitiated, like, oh, Baba Is You, but wall is block or wall is stop. Water is sink. And then people are like, what if water is win? And then someone's like, water is win. And it's like you quit so quickly. People get into like the magic circle, right? Where it's just like, oh, we're just all accepting that water is win as a phrase means literally anything. And I just think that's so funny. And we played for like an hour and people loved it. It was a great time. I might have got off the question.
No, you're. I mean that is a type of relationship to have with it, right? Is to be able to turn it into like a social experience,
Yes.
which is, something that, like you said, not every game can inhabit, right? Like if I'm playing Super Mario Brothers, to go back to Mario for a second, but like the Nintendo Mario,
yeah, the other one.
Yeah, the poser, the one that really gatekeeps the amount of people that are allowed to work on it.
Yeah.
If you go back to that, like you can sit down and watch me play, but you're not playing. That's not you're having a decidedly different experience than I am.
Yeah. I thought of another like little kind of experiment that I did with someone. I had a friend who we did like a culture exchange almost, where she wanted me to play The Sims, which I've never really been a Sims person. Like I know that the games exist. I probably like touched one once or twice, but it's never really been like something I've wanted to engage with very deeply. And she's very deep into The Sims, so she's like, we should do like a Twitch stream where I teach you how to play The Sims. And I'm like, okay. And then we'll do another Twitch stream where I teach you how to play Into the Breach, which is not a game that she was very
genres.
The two genres, right?
This is so funny because I am an Into the Breach fan and Charlie, my spouse, is a Sims fan.
Yes.
This is so funny.
You could have this experience. It's right there for you.
Could.
But the thing that was so fun about that is Into the Breach, a game I adore. Up there, if I'm naming like top Thinky Games, it's very high up there. That game has so much information that's always accessible. Like you don't have to dig very hard to like figure out like where a missile is going to go, or like how some turn's going to turn out, and you can like undo things. Like there's so much accessibility there. And basically I had her controlling, actually like doing all the mouse clicks and doing all the actual actions, but I was sitting on the sidelines the whole time saying like, okay, so what's going to happen if you do this, and try to be as light touch as possible, where I can kind of be like, well, maybe you don't want to do that, maybe this will happen if you do that, but like, have you thought about this? And we played a single run, over the course of a couple weeks, and we won. We won the first time, our first run with her on the mouse, never having played before. And I think that's such like a good encapsulation of that, like you were saying, like the mode of play or whatever, where I can act entirely as the brain and she can just only be like the hands. She's contributing. By the end, she was making strategic decisions and like kind of engaging on a level that was really cool. But like just understanding, having that knowledge and be able to like understand the game state to that point, having my expertise come in without me ever even touching the controller, we were able to complete the game, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, some of my favorite memories from exhibiting games that I've worked on have been setting up a game, like somebody sits down and starts playing it, and then people will be like waiting behind them to start playing. But then sometimes you'll see like people lean over their shoulder and go like, oh, what about this? What about that? And you can see it turn from a single player game to a cooperative thing in a really beautiful way.
I first of all, that's not the story I thought you were going to tell, Ellen.
What was the story you thought I was going to tell?
You sitting behind people that you know and just shouting "wrong."
I mean, that's a different type of cooperation.
No, that's antagonism. No, I mean, I do think that somewhere and this is too niche to be probably a high budget project, but somewhere in this design space, I feel like there is room for a co-op designed one of these where it's using maybe like different, like it's very purposefully including different types of thought process that are all required for the solution, like things that one person is less likely to be able to solve all on their own.
Yeah.
Again, that's super niche, but I think that as a design space, games that are very purposefully trying to tap into that are, it's underrepresented.
Yeah, I've actually thought for a long time I've wanted to do. I'm really interested in like the design space of like the technology that you use for like a Jackbox game, right? Of like playing, you have something on a screen that everyone's sharing, and then you have people on phones. I'm saying it now. I'm realizing this is kind of what I did for. I went to New York, NYU last year to present something at their No Quarter event, and this is kind of what I did a little bit was putting people in their phones. But I want to have like one main screen, and then have like a couch of people, and everyone has a touch phone, has their smartphone, and they have some kind of touch controls. They have some kind of like stuff happening on their phone, and I think that's like such an accessible, like most people kind of know how to use a phone now as like a controller and how to like interface with the phone. There's not as much of a like, oh, you need to learn how to like look and move and look with two sticks at the same time or something you would if you like handed someone a normal game controller. And making some kind of like puzzle game or something kind of like a Thinky game, I suppose, where there's information on the screen, but then there's information on the phones too, and everyone's kind of has different information. Everyone kind of has to like work together. I think the game Space Team kind of hits this mark a little bit for me, where it's like everyone has different buttons on their panels, and you're all trying to
Yeah.
like shout directions at each other. Something like that, but a little less chaotic, and then like augmented by a full screen.
I also regret to inform you the Space Team is like over 15 years old.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
regret
speaking of Space Team, that developer was actually working on something very much like this, a more escape roomy co-op
really?
thing.
Okay.
I don't really know if it just if it got abandoned or if he's still slowly working on it. But like, yeah, it's this kind of thing of like
sounds like a great podcast guest to write on the list, Alan.
That's a great idea. He's also a very big fan of physical escape rooms.
Well, sorry, I didn't realize the Space Team is a dead reference.
Once a game hits 15 years old, you cannot discuss it anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like Super Mario Galaxy. The heck is that? No one alive knows what that is.
Yeah, I meant the Space Team like game in Roblox. I guess I'm sure there's something like that in Roblox.
Oh God. I mean, if we want to talk about like projects that give people depression, we can pivot to Roblox. I know you have Roblox stories, but I
do have Roblox stories. Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't know any of your Roblox stories. Let's have at least one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. The reason I got into the industry sort of was thanks to Roblox, because when I started at Phenomena, they were hiring for a Roblox developer. A gameplay engineer for Roblox specifically, and I basically knew that Roblox existed. I had never touched Roblox before. I had no idea what it was like to play Roblox. I didn't know how to make a game in Roblox, but I was like, I'm a quick study. I could learn this, and I think what worked to my advantage is like that I had my portfolio of non-Roblox games was stacked. I had a really great like a lot of games that I'd shipped a lot of games. And then also, like, there probably weren't a lot of people that weren't like, in their teens applying for jobs like that. So I was able to get that job, and I kind of just learned how to work with Roblox Studio, like their engine to make stuff on the job. And You know what? I think that's a really cool platform. Maybe not. There's a lot of ethical problems. There's like I would like if my kid were old enough to play Roblox, we'd have to have a long talk about safety on the platform. It'd be a very complicated discussion, basically. I think for children, it's complicated, and it is a game for children, so that sucks. But from like a technical standpoint, just like a design standpoint, it is really cool that this thing enables you to play like to create a multiplayer game. Like that is the core like bit that you can do in Roblox. So it's super simple to like prototype something to make it like a third person game and just like launch it for people to play. That year that I got that job, I hosted my New Year's party in Roblox. I recreated my friend's house in Roblox, and I like added like a JPEG of his cat that would like hide around the house, and you would go and you'd click it to pet it, and then it would disappear and hide somewhere else. There are all kinds of like little secrets. I added achievements to it. It was all super easy, even only working in the engine for a couple of months. But yeah, it was a very strange first job, and the products that we worked on kind of ranged from like I think a lot of them were collaborations with like brands. So we they released like a Ralph Lauren like winter escape game where you like had to you like collect hot cocoa and do like all this kind of like whatever random wintry stuff. But of course you would like wear Ralph Lauren fashions while you did it. And I remember that was a real rough project from like the working with the Ralph Lauren people. I was told that one of the producers got a call from someone like at the company. It was like 2 in the morning. They got a phone call from someone that was like, "Hey, this hat is not right. This is not the hat that we. This is not
Disney level. You got to
yes."
get this right.
Yes. So that was a lot. There's an Abercrombie and Fitch project that was scrapped when the company shut down. That might have been NDA, but there's like a lawsuit like publicly known of Abercrombie and Fitch like suing Phenomena because they didn't finish the game. So I think it's safe to say that one.
Incredible.
Yeah, and the project that I was on, which I'm really actually really happy that I was able to. I don't know if it was intended because I like worked in higher education before, but or if it just kind of worked out. But I was on a project with Project Lead the Way, which they're kind of like a group that does a nonprofit group that does like STEM stuff for kids. And we were working on a game about human biology and like going inside the body. And I did a lot of the design work on that game in the early phases. We didn't have a lead designer yet, and so I like figured out like okay what's the best genre to go with. Like I played a ton of Roblox junk to try to figure out like what kind of genres worked, what people like to play, and we eventually landed on kind of like a tower defensey sort of thing, but also it's like team fortressy where you have like different units. You like have different cells you can ride around and like do different things, and it was a really fun for a while. It was a really fun project to work on, and then the studio shut down, and another studio finished it. But that game did come out, and I personally I don't think it's as good as it could have been if was allowed to continue to work on it. But I do think it was a cool idea still. Um, but yeah, fascinating platform. I think it's really interesting. It's bad for a lot of reasons, but also very interesting.
Yeah, the thing that really interests me as somebody who has never used Roblox is that I can see that it makes it so easy to make multiplayer experiences
Yes.
in a way that kind of breaks my brain. It shouldn't be possible to make it that easy to make a multiplayer thing.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's really cool. I also love. I want to shout out the there's a pane that is it is just there when you open a Roblox Studio for the first time. There is a sidebar called the content browser, and you go to like use like a Unity or like a Unreal or something, and they have like asset stores, right? They have places where you can go and like buy assets, or you can kind of go seek that stuff out. But this is like integrated to the engine on such a deep level where it's just there in a little window. It's like if you were browsing files on your computer. They have a bunch of little thumbnails, and you can search in it. You can search for like Sonic the Hedgehog, and get like a dozen of like models or like little different things that people have made, that kids, probably teenagers, have made. You can like search for like laser gun, and you'll find a million laser guns. And not only can you like just drag and drop those models into your game and just use them, a lot of them also have like scripting logic attached to them. So you can go and grab like I think I have a GIF somewhere of like I found like a shrink ray, and so I grabbed this shrink ray gun, drag and dropped it in my game. This is a fresh project. I hadn't done any other work on it. I had not touched code yet. And I hit start, and I was in the game with my little Roblox avatar. I picked up the laser gun, and I shot it at like a cube, and the cube shrunk. The cube like went down like a tenth of its size. And then I found like I think I like bounced it off a wall or something. Like I shot it at a wall and it bounced back at me, and it hit me, and my character's body just like one of my arms just got really small, and I just kept doing like shrinking all my body parts, and then like I couldn't even walk straight because my body was so out of proportion that I wasn't able to like to move anymore properly. And yeah, it's so interesting that you can just like jump in there and start doing all that stuff, and it's no wonder that like a 12-year-old gets so fascinated by this platform, because even like creating stuff, you can do so much without having like any idea how to code or do much of anything. You know, it would have been a really powerful thing for me to have when I was a child.
Yeah, and I look at that and I think, yeah, it's really cool, and it's like obviously like the next. It's a logical leap from toying with RPG Maker as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
or like
Yeah,
or the original versions of Game Maker, and then I just think about like the child labor exploitation of it
it's
all, and
really
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
ooh,
It's really something that I think as it exists, like burn it down. Like just I don't want it to
yeah,
exist. But I do think it, like, my perspective, having been paid, a living wage to work in this platform for 4 hours a week. Um, I think it is such like a huge gap in, like, if someone's gonna take one thing from this podcast, like go play some Roblox, like go open Roblox Studio and just like understand what that platform is, because I would love to see like I think like our industry as a whole is kind of siloed out from that platform. Like it's been around since like
mhm.
2008 or something, and it's wild that there's not more coverage about it. That we don't really think of it as like as video games. Like it's not a meaningful like part of our industry, but like there's some really interesting like technical stuff that they're doing there, like easy multiplayer and like the content browser, and just like the way that like the game types, like the kind of things that kids are doing in there, the kind of modes that they like to play in. um I People need to study that. Like I think it's so important for like game developers that are from a more traditional background to like get in there and understand like what the the future players, basically, like your future audience is getting
Yeah.
up to right now. I
What?
Yeah.
Why do you feel like Dreams get some level of respect where Roblox doesn't? I'm like, do you have theories for why there's a distinction there?
Dreams, as in the PlayStation.
Yeah.
I mean, I have theories.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it's Media Molecule, right? So it's like they made Little Big Planet. There's some prestige there. I think just look at, like, if you look at like the trailers and you look at like the way it's called Dreams, right? So like you look at the stuff and it looks very like quote unquote dreamlike when you like look at kind of the aesthetic that it has. It feels more artful and more adult, I suppose, in some kind of way. Roblox looks like shit. Like, it looks terrible. There's like you plays these like weird little Lego minifig sort of looking guys, and everyone, like, they're all really ugly. And it's all like user made content, so it's like all like really, and made by teens as well. um I don't know, it looks really rough around the edges and doesn't look like something that you'd want to spend time in. But Dreams does look like something that's very polished and pretty. And then it's also like on a platform that you can like make stuff on your console, which is kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I honestly think that it's the fact that it's gate kept to PS4 and PS5,
Mm.
Yeah.
whereas Roblox is on PC and mobile.
Mhm.
And one, that means that it runs on low end iPads that like run it at like 3 frames per second, but kids like slop, so they don't care. But and so I think that that's part of the stigma, but like also I think the fact that so few people have access to Dreams, also that I don't know if it ever pivoted to be free at the end, because I know they've walked away from that project, but like at launch it was $40.
Yeah.
And that's one barrier to entry. Then you need a PlayStation 4. That's another barrier to entry. And then if you want access to good sculpting, that requires the PS Move controllers. That's another barrier to entry. And like I think that by putting up these barriers, you are one like you are eliminating the mainstream ability for it to take off, which I think is part of why it failed. But it also, in doing so, the people that are actually like uploading components to the server for people to use in their own projects or building their own projects are ultra mega dedicated.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the equivalent of the high end user created Roblox experiences in Dreams, or at least single player ones, but you are not getting the weird, I'm just going to say, borderline hate speech ones. I'm being nice there by saying borderline. But I feel like there's another reason. But that's neither here nor there. Do you have any questions for Alan and I, either like as Draknek or just in general?
When's your first Roblox game coming out, Alan?
We've shipped something in Humanity.
It's true.
Humanity, is that the with the dog?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that
yeah.
game.
Last year, for Cerebral Puzzle Showcase 2024, we they made a in-game level hopper for people who joined through Cerebral that highlighted a bunch of much thinkier and levels that users had created, and the playlist opened with a level that Alan made, which
it was just barren because I have no sense of aesthetics.
it's so funny because I then watched the developers of Humanity play Alan's level blind, and they opened and they said, "Oh no, this is threatening and powerful. It's all using default graphics." And it's like, they're like, apparently that if someone has posted a level that is all using default, and it's like it's either going to be walk straight to the end, or it's going to be I was only thinking about the gameplay, so you're in for a real gameplay experience.
Yeah.
And then they proceeded to take like 15 minutes to solve your puzzle.
Incredible.
But to answer the question, like I don't think Roblox aligns with the kinds of puzzle game that I am good at making, but thinkygames.com, they should like do a Roblox thing. Like they just get a bunch of Thinky developers and
Joe,
get people making Thinky games in Roblox.
I know that the people who work on thinkygames.com listen to this podcast.
Yeah. So Joe, as you are listening to this right now, just get your to-do list, which is way too big, and just add another thing on it.
Yeah.
Just one more thing.
Just slot it for after Cerebral.
Having people make stuff maybe is a step too far, but like I do think, Joe, you should go on Roblox and figure out what the best puzzle games in Roblox are. Like give me like the top 10 Thinky games on Roblox.
I was gonna say I think that's a list that has an audience.
Yeah.
And even if Joe doesn't do this, hey, you person who listens to this and plays Roblox games, pitch something to thinkygames.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh crap, is that me?
Oh, maybe that's you.
Izzy, you might have other reasons for not pitching to thinkygames.com, but
yeah, fair.
Anyways, yeah. Did you have any other questions?
Yeah, that was a joke question, sort of. But my real question that I came prepared with, and hopefully no one's asked this before, you have kind of this cinematic universe isn't the right word. What, like, ludic universe? You
Sure.
have this monster, right? You have this monster that appears in a lot of different games.
Mm-hmm.
It's having little mini adventures now. What
Mini expeditions, even.
Mini expeditions? What if the monster wasn't solving puzzles and doing kind of like the Sokobani kind of stuff? What would the monster be doing? Like, what's the genre? Would the monster be good at like shooting stuff or like driving a
Good,
go-kart
good
maybe?
question.
I
Like, where
mean,
would you go?
Go
I have
karting isn't it?
I have an
Shooting guns
in-universe
isn't it?
answer.
Yeah. What's the answer, Seren?
The in-universe answer, the obvious one, is they'd be researching history. They're going to
Sure.
museums all the time.
Yeah, actually, I could see like a like museum, like decorate your museum game with a
Okay.
monster.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think like Animal Crossing sort of vibes more
Animal
than like
Crossing could fit.
not as much like, oh, you own a museum and you're like, managing the business end of it. Is
Yeah,
the
the
monster
monster is not a
capitalist?
capitalist.
Okay.
No.
So we're not thinking like 2 Point Museum here.
Okay, gotcha.
No, in case the first 30 seconds for me, excuse me, the first 10 minutes of a month of expedition isn't clear enough. Not capitalist, not colonial.
Perfect. Thank you for the answer.
So, Electrifying Incident is coming out on April 15th, which is really soon if you're listening to this when it comes out. Izzy, as someone who has played the game by virtue of working on the game,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything that you're like especially excited for people to get their hands on with it? Like, what's outside of the paycheck? Like, what's to you like the most interesting thing about that game?
Yeah, I think it's cool that it started life as a puzzle script game, and kind of like I think the simple view, if you kind of like are outside looking in, you don't really know kind of what goes into game development, is like you had this thing that was like low res pixely sort of like 2D game, and we sort of like inflated it into like a full 3D thing. Just add water. And yeah, it was cool to for me personally. I did some of like the map generation stuff. It was nice to have like a blueprint of what the game should look like, and be able to just write some tools to like convert that stuff into 3D and then have it sort of dressed up. I think visually it like looks really cool, and I'm excited to see like all the little flares and like all the little nice little touches that just makes it feel like more like a real 3D space rather than being like kind of the flat thing that didn't have as much detail. I think it's like looks really cool. I'm excited to hear the new sound direction too and everything.
And there might not be anything, but I'm curious, like, is there anything that like you like people could look at and go like, oh, like that's an Izzy thing? Like, is there anywhere where you feel like you made your mark on this game?
Oh man, well I wasn't in there long enough to put Gex in the game, which is kind of my go-to.
Uh, for legal reasons, it's probably best that you did for
What?
this commercial game.
Well, okay. I mean, not literally Gex, but if there's like a lizard somewhere, that would be.
Yes.
If there's still time to put a lizard in the game, please do that for me.
That might
Um,
be a little scope creepy.
yeah. Well, maybe like some blocks in the shape of a lizard. I don't know. Just do your best.
Maybe
But
in the credits scene.
oh
Oh
yeah,
God.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Just I would appreciate it. No. You can cut this out if you need to. But when I was with No Goblin, I was very adamant about having there's a level, and I can't really speak anything about that game because it's still not announced.
Somehow that game is not announced.
Hopefully sometime soon it will be announced. But I think I can say that in one of the levels in the game, there is a green gecko sort of statue, I believe, that one of the modelers put together to make a Gex like character. So
Incredible.
yeah, I definitely have tried my best to leave that mark. I know at least in every Slack that I've been in, I try to get a Gex emoji added, so at least
You're
that's
2 for
internal.
2 on Slacks that I've invited you to.
Yes, and the other 2 Slacks that I've been in, yes, also have Gexes in them. So that's 4
Yeah.
total, I think.
Incredible. Yeah, no, I'm super excited for people like, I think I've probably said this in another Electrifying Incident related podcast episode, but like, screw it, it's been enough weeks. I'm just excited for people to go in and experience a one sitting game from
Yeah.
Draknek.
Yeah.
Like, I know that Alan has designed a lot of those through like Puzzle Script, but also most of our audience is not experiencing Alan's Puzzle Script games.
Also, most of my puzzle script games aren't one-sitting games. I mean, they could be, but like, there's a lot of them are like meatier than this, even.
Yes,
or harder than this.
That I think it's closer to harder than this. You
want to know? You want to know what I'm really most excited about?
There to be a walkthrough? Is that going to be your answer?
I'm excited to have a credit in a released video game.
Oh God!
This will be.
You'll be the first.
No. Oh my God! Yes.
You will be the first. Yeah. No.
Oh
that's right.
My God! You didn't get patched. Oh no.
No, I worked on Snakebird Complete. Did some QA for that game. I am not in the credits for that game.
No, Izzy, I'm sorry.
I did a little bit of QA in Arranger as well. I'm not in that either, which
Oh no.
Someday No Goblins game will come out. I'll be in that. I work with Studio Any% a little bit on Mossfield Origins. I don't believe that game is out yet either. So you're going to be the first. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being my first professional credit.
If you don't count a little game called Mario.
Sure. Yeah.
Of commercial games.
Yeah. Games that I was paid for.
Oh my God. Do you have Amobi games?
I do. Yes, I do. I have a couple of old games. I have one game on Steam that I released independently that is on. But...
Wow. That really just like knocked me on my ass. No, you're right. You're so right. I'm so sorry. That you have had such a fascinatingly consistent run of bad luck with games that you worked on and crediting you.
Yeah.
/ releasing.
Yeah, that's video games, baby.
That is. Yeah, no, you are definitively in the credits on this one. And it will definitively come out within like 4 weeks of us recording this.
Awesome.
So you will have a credit. And
thank you again for the opportunity to work on a thing.
God, you were meant to be in so many other anyways. Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about that we haven't gotten to?
No, I don't think so. This was fun. We talked about Roblox more than I thought we would, but that's fine because I don't have a lot of avenues to talk about Roblox anymore.
Yeah, it's totally chill. I warned Alan ahead of this that this is probably just going to end up being Syrenne and Izzy just chat.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if we didn't have interesting tangents on this podcast, then it would not be worth existing.
Yeah, it's I can't come up with a better word than extracting, but like we're getting valuable side information about things that people are passionate about or like weird experiences that people have had. And in this case, I would define that as a very weird experience that you've had.
Yes.
You have such a long list of hyper weird experiences in this industry.
Yep.
That
yes, I do.
So do I, but mine usually involve at least getting credited.
Yeah.
At the end of the project.
Yeah.
Or at least having an in-game location named after me.
Yeah. Speaking of weird crediting situations, if anyone here listening to this has any connections with the limited run games or the folks making
Oh
the Gex
God.
trilogy, I feel I deserve to be in the special thanks for that game. I'm just saying. I don't think it would happen without me. I know there's not like that's not literally what happened, but like people really would they really be publishing a Gex trilogy if I haven't been ringing that bell for the last 20 years? I don't know.
Do you want the honest answer?
No.
Okay, great. Then we'll leave it at that. I will say that you talking about it has made it a better business decision. That doesn't mean they wouldn't have made a bad business decision.
Yeah. Damn straight.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online?
Yeah, I'm Isnaut on most things, IZNAUT. And by most things I mean my website is not.com and Blue Sky, basically. I'm not on the bad website anymore. Or
and co-host got
Instagram
shut down. Rip.
Or co-host. Yeah, co-host is gone, but you can find me on Blue Sky, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to see some weird reposts, might I recommend giving Izzy a follow?
I don't think I've reposted anything that weird.
If you two want to be sent messages from Izzy at like 11 p.m. on Discord that say sounds like you need to be following more bad bitches, then I recommend following Izzy. No, it's a pleasure as always to catch up. Thank you for listening to the Draknek and Friends official podcast. Our music is by Priscilla Snow, who you can find at ghoulnoise.bandcamp.com. Our podcast artwork is by Adam DeGrandis. Our podcast is edited by Melanie Zawodniak. Please rate and review us on your podcast service of choice, and be sure to tune in next episode for more interesting conversations.
No, Joe's a nice guy.
Joe's a nice guy.
Joe's a nice guy.